This bridge, this is a disaster. You have two 15-year-olds going on this morning, noon and night to try school. And whenever time the bridge come down, them have to stay over this, or sometimes them have to go to people yard, go sleep. Wishing me can allow my 15-year-old picnic to go to people yard, go sleep. So if they cannot give we a bridge, give we something, 2 pieces of iron to walk over the pond.
Welcome to BOJ TV's Trending News for top stories in local, regional and international news, along with sports and local weather forecast.
We're here, I'm doing a tour with MP Michael Phillips of Northwest, and also we'll be visiting Northeast Manchester today. This is part of just going around the country and seeing what's going on, hearing from the people and meeting and greeting the people. We're here at Troy Bridge, which, as you know, has been down for I think 2 years or thereabouts, and MP Michael Phillips has been a strong advocate for the reconstruction of a bridge, because the residents on both sides of this river, I think it's Hector's River, are dependent on a bridge in order to go to school or indeed go to their workplaces. And what is there right now is a makeshift device made out of bamboo, fairly precarious, which only somebody courageous and agile would really venture across. But for elderly people and little children, it would be very dangerous for them to try it. And we have a makeshift pulley system to carry, physical items across. Obviously not of any great weight, but that is what the residents have had to, turn them hand and make fashion, so to speak, to try and survive this situation. So we've been tracking the issue. Michael has been advocating hard for it in Parliament and outside. And he was just giving an update of the latest with the procurement issues, and apparently it's now at the stage where they're still trying to decide whether or not it's an emergency situation. Wow. But it clearly is something which needs to be addressed very quickly, because this is a vital route for the people living here in Northwest on the border with South Trelawney, is it? Yeah, South Trelawney. So this can't wait any longer, and I use this opportunity just to call on the government to prioritize this bridge and get it done. And we will be very happy to see the work start, because it needs to happen without further delay.
Well, over a year ago, January to be exact of this year, the Prime Minister made a commitment in 2022 December to come and visit the community of Troy / Northwest Manchester. Up to now, we are now in the 10th month of the year. Prime Minister has not yet come to visit the community to see the plight of those residents in Northwest Manchester and Southern Trelawney. So when I invited the party leader, the opposition leader, to come and see for himself that what I've been advocating in Parliament for is not just being a crybaby, as some will say, but that the people of Manchester and Trelawney are actually suffering because of the lack of a bridge here. Yeah. We are here now, the river is not in full spate, but you can see the danger that persons would face trying to cross the bridge. Yeah. We have had where children have fell in the river. There was a father who jumped in the river, not even knowing what was underneath there, to try and save his own child. And the frustration is that something that should be an emergency should not have taken 2 years. As I was told by the National Works Agency, is that the procurement is still with the Ministry of Finance, who is, after 2 years, is still trying to determine if this should be dealt with as an emergency. I've said to the Prime Minister that this cannot be so. There are multiple other communities here in Manchester, in St. Elizabeth, right across the island, in Portland, that have a similar situation like this. And if we are really to serve the people, we can't respond in the manner that the government is responding now. If it is that they're trying to victimize me, then that is another case. But don't victimize the people at the same time when you're trying to victimize me, because I'm not a member of the government. And right now, after 2 years, that is what it's feeling like, victimization.
And I just want to commend the Member of Parliament, Michael Phillips, for his steadfast and resolute and persistent advocacy on this issue, which is affecting the people of this region very, very badly and needs to be addressed without further delay. And the fact it has taken so long suggests to me that the government is not treating this as a priority because they don't happen to have this as one of their seats. And that is not the right approach. The people of this area vote for both parties, and they should have their bridge restored so that they can go about their daily lives. It's a very disruptive situation, which is affecting the prospects of the children in this region. Many of them have had to change schools because they can no longer access the school on the other side of this river and have to be going to other schools in St. Elizabeth and so on. It's an untenable situation and needs to be addressed.
MP Phillips, your political counterpart for Northwest, believes that you could have been more proactive. You could have solicited funds from private investors to provide at least a footbridge. Please respond to that.
Well, when persons are seeking jobs, sometimes they don't try to understand how the process works. And, you know, I guess Mr. Young, who wants the job of Member of Parliament, ought to do his research on how it is that government operates, how it is that the responsibility you have as a Member of Parliament. If it was for private sector being able to build bridges across the island, then I guess that Jamaica would not have any bridges that would need any repair. As Member of Parliament, I cannot put up a walk-foot bridge. I can't solicit materials from anyone, because if anything was to happen to anyone crossing that bridge, then I would be held liable for that. Any infrastructure that is being built has to be built with the permission of the National Works Agency, as this is a National Works Agency road. As Member of Parliament, I cannot just go and say I'm going to build that bridge without their permission. So before people speak, I would urge them to at least do their homework and to not try and give the people a narrative that is not a realistic narrative. But he will never know, because he will never get the job as Member of Parliament in North West Manchester.
I mean, quite frankly, this is a major piece of infrastructure, this bridge, and it is not a matter for the private sector. There's no return on investment here for the private sector putting in the bridge. This is something that squarely falls within the public sector to address. This affects the people, ordinary people who live in this area, both sides, both parishes, because it's a border between two parishes. And it is squarely the government's responsibility, like any other major piece of infrastructure is, to address. And there's plenty of precedent for the repair or replacement of bridges that have been damaged or destroyed and by the government of the day. And this is why we're continuing to call for it, because it's important and it needs to be done.
And I would have preferred if my opponent had being a member of the governing party, so that he would have lobbied on behalf of the people to help me to lobby his government to get the bridge constructed in the shortest space of time. You know, there are some things that...
Instead of indulging in red herrings.
Yes, there are some things that we need to stay away from. Misinformation, as his own Minister of Information has been speaking about. The level of misinformation that some people embark on. And that is not what we are about here today. We are here on the party leader seeing for himself, members of the hierarchy of the party, seeing for themselves the issue, the plight of those in Manchester and St. Elizabeth. If it is that I could take my CDF and fix this bridge, it would have been fixed a long time ago. The cost of the bridge, according to the National Works Agency, is going to be in the range of $160 to $180 million.
That's 8 or 9 years of CDF.
So even if, as being Member of Parliament for 11 years, if my opponent knew how the CDF operates, you can't use the CDF to do a bridge like this. You can't use the CDF for more than 50% of the CDF for any one project in any one financial year. So the misinformation that he is giving the general public about the spend and how it is that we spend money, I would tell him to go back to school and learn how it is that we operate as a government. And when I say government, I mean both JLP and PNP members of parliament, because there are rules that we have to be governed by, and misinformation will not help him to get elected here in Northwest Manchester.
Party leader, on a different matter, your remarks recently regarding the fear increase perhaps have been construed by some as you as MP